Hello there, jolly good morning to you. Thank you plenty for staying with Niger Live Television. Thank you also for staying with us on the paper review segment of our daily programming here at Niger Live Television. My name is Henry Ahamuefula. Beautiful Saturday morning with a number of stories. And I'll start off this morning with the Saturday Tribune. It's reporting around insecurity and the late story there. U.S. threatens to withhold 50% aid to Nigeria. This is a function of a plethora of insecurity incidents across Nigeria, and beneath that particular story is also another story on insecurity, with kidnappers asking our boss to choose who to kill among us if only 20 million naira ransom was paid. And that's a victim of the kidnapping there, recounting a deal, right? A story that's contained on page 10, a very sad one there. Kidnappers asking our boss to choose who to kill among us if only 20 million naira ransom was paid. And also close to that story touches on the police, with the Plateau police arresting 9 over fresh attack plot. And the pensioners are saying will resist any attempt to return Oyo to dark days after Marking Day. And well, Tinubu says there, right there on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune, he says, I'll defeat insecurity and poverty. Regardless now, he makes that declaration. He will defeat insecurity and poverty. But how long is this going to take? Well, there's a questions also we'll be asking Mr. President. Well, on page 8 is a story that's right there on Baba Ahmed and the PRP. He says, we're ready to take in politicians from the ADC and the PDP. That's coming from Baba Ahmed, the PRP national chairman. This is as he says that Tinubu's government must go in 2027. Need I remind you that he used to be a special advisor to the president. Whatever happened and why exactly he's falling out of the president, he had to resign at some point. And now, well, took up the role and mantle as national chairman of the PRP. He's saying right there on the Nigerian Tribune that they're ready to take in politicians from the ADC PDP because they must sack Tinubu from office come 2027. Stories are getting off the Nigerian Tribune this morning. On page 6 of the Tribune, or your APC leaders adopt Ali as governorship candidate. Alrighty, we'll leave that particular story. After divorce, she became a tenant in my house. Ex-husband tells Ibadan court. This is as he says that he contributed over 3 million naira. Rather, she says she contributed over 3 million naira to build the house, and it belongs to both of them. A woman recounts the story of the Nigerian Tribune. Let's check out the D-State paper this morning and start off with the lead story on the D-State paper. Opposition, Labour demand action as Tinubu declares hardship, insecurity, emergency. Atiku, Obi, NAC government, NLC, TUC set agenda ahead of 2027. And states roll out support schemes amid mounting economic pressure. NHRC, that's the Nigerian Human Rights Commission, warns workers at breaking point as fuel living costs surge. Alrighty. And there are photos on the paper of the unveiling of the Oyo APC consensus governorship candidate. It's contained right there on the paper this morning. Alrighty, and beneath rather the nameplate on 2027, Fobera's loyalists dare Wiki pick re-election for the governor. Well, and this essay is in a bold political move that signals that another rift may be brewing in Rivers State. A coalition of elders and supporters has openly defied the direction of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, by procuring the All Progressives Congress expression of interest and nomination forms for Governor Siminalayi Fubara. And this is Darren Fubara's estranged political godfather. The delegation, led by a member representing Andoni Opobo Nkoro, Federal Constituency in the House of Reps, Honorable Waji Bante, disclosed that elders and leaders across River State took the decision in the overriding interest of the people. That's a story that continues on page 6 of the D's paper this morning. Alrighty. Also on page 7 of the paper, ADC vows to sue INEC as Ahamuefula for day recognizing David Mark's leadership. Right. Follows their victory, of course. Forbearance burden. 9 banks, 3.24 trillion naira exposure wipes out shareholders' dividends. A rider to that story, Access Holdings record 1 trillion naira profit. Impairment charges rise to 523 billion naira. Alrighty, away from the D-State paper, let's check out the Garden paper real quick. And the lead story there is, well, there's a cartoon around school demolition. Out of school children, schools demolition stains Lagos Project Zero. Pages 4 and 6 has a story rather. There's some sort of cartoon there showing a woman, a child who's following the woman, and also some sort of destruction and demolition of houses and schools right there. If you can see it on your screen, right? Away from that, Workers' Day. Tinubu Labour tangle on reform gains and policy direction as Labour launches Stop the Bleeding campaign to curb systematic leakages. Of course, that's in line with the theme of the Labour Day that went down on Friday, May 1st, 2026. It's around insecurity, it's around inflation, net being the bane of decent work in Nigeria. NDLEA dismantles Abuja drug banks, arrests 132, recovers 220 kilogram illicit substances. Is on page 3 of the paper. There is a question on the paper. Where is Dr. Ahamuefula Adesina at this time? One who, well, is a pundit and one whose analysis is no matter whose ox is God, does not favor any particular person, and very strong critical analysis. And that's the question right there. Where is Dr. Ahamuefula Adesina at this time? Alrighty, I'll leave the Guardian paper quickly and touch on the Saturday Telegraph. And what does it got for us? Ajeru, Osifo, Obi, Mark, Esili. What government must do to mitigate workers' plight? A revelation, an insight, an advice, a recommendation, whichever works there most. But there are writers to that story that's contained on pages 4 and 6 of the paper. We want living wage, 100% salary adjustment from July. If we secure nation decisively, investment will follow naturally. Without justice for workers, no justice for the nation. And Tinubu says on insecurity and poverty and their threats to job and national stability, even as he promises that he is going to tackle these. The ADC leadership is also on the paper this morning with the report that lawyers are split over implications of Supreme Court judgment, and Adam says it may serve as a moral and legal compass for FHC. Adibera, the judgment may not be binding on specific facts of the Federal High Court case. Well, beware of opposition trying to truncate democracy. Kaduna Governor Sani warns on page 6, and fuel pump price hits over 1,400 naira. It's also an insight story that you're getting on the paper this morning. Tinubu embarks on trip to Kenya, Rwanda, and France. Kenya, Rwanda, and France, 2 African countries, and then, well, straight up to Europe. Page 3 of that paper has that story for you. Hey there. We're leaving these stories to check out a story that's above the nameplate, and that's on General Victor Malu's son, General Ibrahim, punished my dad for refusing to make broadcasts supporting IBB's coup. General Victor Malu's son reveals. He says General Ibrahim punished my dad for refusing to make broadcasts supporting IBB's coup. To expatiate these somewhat, IBB had come out to make clarifications some 6-7 months back around the coup and all of those, and so well, there's the General Victor Malu's son coming out to say that in fact his father was punished for refusing to make broadcasts on that particular coup, and he says that his dad made his greatest impact as Ecomog commander. Page 3 also of the Saturday Telegraph, beg your pardon, also is reporting around Catholic bishops lamenting rising insecurity, poverty, and others there. The Daily Trust, or rather the Weekend Trust, APC consensus in crisis. They are the progenitors of these consensus, and it's now something that's constitutional, But then, APC consensus in crisis is what the Weekend Trust is reporting. I guess the consensus also is causing problems right there, and also they have a cartoon there that's also representative of what their lead story is. Abuja communities where residents pay to sleep. On page 29 you find out these communities, Abuja communities where residents pay to sleep. You have to pay if you want to sleep peacefully. I guess that's the import of this story here. Terrorists killed us 4 farmers in Niger. 61 years after Operation Waitie. What now? 61 years after that particular operation, where it was said that the masses had to throw petrol on people, on politicians. You remember that Operation Waitie is only back in the days because Sheyi Makinde brought it up when he mentioned that it is time for Operation Waitie, and then of course the ruling party questioned and said it was not totally cool to bring back the word or a term like these, especially at this time. It was not cool. And now the Daily Trust, or rather the Weekend Trust, right there on page 27, gives an insight that you probably want to check out. It says 61 years after Operation Waitie. Well, I am adding this. What now? What now? 61 years after. Alrighty, real quick, the independent paper 2027 election, high cost of nomination forms limiting access for credible leaders to governance. A report says that above the nameplate or your 2027 APC leaders endorse Ali as governorship candidate as faction and group rejects Unity Forum endorsement. And David Mark's lawyer hails INEC for restoring ADC leadership, even though there are papers reporting that they are looking to really challenge and take Ahamuefula to court, and INEC also to court. Amid rising extrajudicial killings, IGP Disu moves to crack down on errant officers. Page 30 has that story. Wiki-backed PDP spits fire, warns Turaki group to stop distorting Supreme Court judgment. Right. Labour to engage federal government in fresh minimum wage negotiations in July 2026. Nigeria, recall that it's typically 3 years until you have to review minimum wage, and it's already getting to 3 years, given that the last time it was reviewed was 2024. Alrighty, this is 2026, so it's well, very close to 3 years. I hope July, right? And that's when they will be reviewing the minimum wage that's currently set at 70,000 naira. Hopefully, we see an upwards review. But rather, is that what we're looking out for? We're really looking out for an inflation figure that drops down from the double digit that it currently is at, and that's on that I don't even see a reason for reviewing the minimum wage upwards, But well, if the inflation figure still does 33%, typically labor leaders would want for you to have an upward review of that particular one, yeah. And away from that paper to the Vanguard, it's an insecurity in U.S. Vowing to review aid to Nigeria. And also a revelation right there from Muyiwa Adetiba. He says, my greatest driving force, regret after 25 years on stage. I beg your pardon, that's a statement from Tubaba. This is as he opened up on his field with blackface right there. 2027, Obi Kwankwaso versus Atiku Makinde. That's something that's flying, righty? 2027 presidency, Obi Kwankwaso versus Atiku Makinde or Amechi. Pairing divides ADC members. Party still in trouble. Legal hurdles fester beyond Supreme Court's verdict. Alrighty, away from the Vanguard paper, let's also check out another story on the Vanguard paper before we touch on the Punch paper, and I'll be going above the nameplate of the Vanguard paper, where a PT side is reporting that Nigeria risks instability without credible opposition in 2027. And on the Delta Daylight murder, there is a revelation from the grieving mother. He says, what have I done to police killing my two sons one after the other? A rather sad story right there. From the grieving mother, asking this question, what exactly she has done to have her two children killed one after the other. Her two sons, put better, killed one after the other. The death of my first brother by police cause of my father's death in 2022. A deceased brother is saying that. So these are insights from the family of Mene Ogidi, was dastardly killed was last week Sunday in Efurun, Delta State. Alrighty, let's touch on the Punch paper real quick before we go. Tinubu charges Team Nigeria for World Relay's success is the lead story. And Ayinda wins historic UEFA Europa Cup title. And Marktown Flyers face Ball exit after third defeat. This is Punch Family Corner. At 40, parenting is not delay, it is preparation. These are stories you get off the Punch Family Corner this morning. My name is Henry, and this is where the curtain falls on our paper review segment. Do have a good one.